So multilingual. There are vanity URLs, link checker, types and tags, workflow, languages. That's where we configure our languages. And then, is it system where they put it? Well, here if we go to content type, key and value. Okay. I would like you to, right now, everybody go to the there's the content search manager. For type, go down to the bottom, and you'll see language variable down at the bottom. Okay. Right now, there are no language variables. We are going to add a button that is multilingual to our we'll add a term that is in both Spanish and in English and in French. Okay. So whatever you can think of that you would put on a button, I can only think of submit because I'm not very creative. I can, you go ahead and put new content, and this is all you're going to do. You're going to find a key. Maybe I'll type in more information. That is my key. And then my value in English is going to be more information. So I'll put that in a button or something like that. They can click here or there for more information. Put whatever term you wish that you're going to translate and put somewhere on your page. Key must have a unique value. Oh, somebody else, I guess, beat me to it. So I will put submit. See if anybody did submit. Save and publish. Okay, I did submit. Somebody beat me to it. All right, now open it back up, whatever you put into the system, and go ahead and do switch over to Spanish. And submit. Do you want to populate it? Yeah, sure. And so now the key needs to stay the same no matter what. But the value can have a multilingual version, right? So submit, I'm going to put in Spanish, that'll be cargar. Save and publish. And if I went into Google Translate, I think it's recherche or something like that. Google Translate. And we'll go to French. I think it's I think it's not that. I think it's recherche. But anyway, that they use Google Translate doesn't work perfectly for sure. So I'm going to go into that. I'm going to add a French version. Yes. And why is that called submit button now? Cancel. I want only submit. There we go. And switch to, that's somebody else's. And switch over to French. Says, do you want to copy? I say yes. That way I don't have to do the key. And I'm going to put recherche. And I think that's it. And save and publish. And now I've got that key. And now go to really any page that you want. I'm going to go to my advanced ski resort page. Why not? And under right here with my Guardians of the Galaxy on the right hand side, you just click on anywhere you can add content. Click on add content and then add a widget. We're going to do a simple widget. But you could do this in a template, you can do it in container code, you can do whatever you want. And we're going to create a new simple widget. And I'm going to call this Dean's language variables. And then I'll say submit button will say, and then here we're going to put our language variable. And if we look in documentation on dotCMS.com, and we just type in language variables, global language variables, and how do you get at them? Text.get. Okay, I'll paste to you that. But we're going to do a super cursory coverage here. And text.get from this page. And, oh, didn't want to do that. Get out of there. Text.get, and then you need to put your key name. For me, it was submit, and it was a capital S. It is case sensitive. I'm going to replace my single quotes. You might want, or double quotes, you might want to do the same because copying and pasting from the from GoToWebinar doesn't really always copy correctly. Save and publish. And then this is how you manage multilingual content. Now our widget is going to stay. Widgets persist no matter what. Forms that are the automated form creator forms, they persist. Pages persist, so we're not going to get a 404 just because we switched to our language in Spanish. So pages persist across multiple languages. But your content on your pages that are statically dropped do not. And if you're doing a widget, a pull of content, then that also will not show up unless you've got, let's say if you're doing a pull of news, if there are no news articles that have been translated to Spanish or French in this case, then you know your widget will pull nothing. Your widget will persist on the page, but it just basically pulls nothing because there's no Spanish content. All right. So if I don't want Guardians of the Galaxy to disappear, then I've got to edit that content as well and create a Spanish and a French version. So I'll do that. I'm only going to translate the title here. I'll go ahead and do Spanish here as well. Copy all the fields. I'll say yes. Oh, I already know this. And save and publish. Got a new URL title. Edit my content again. Create a French version. It'll say, do you want to populate it with French? I'll say yes. And save and publish. Okay. So now we can go ahead and try taking a look at our page in the different languages here on the right-hand side. You can preview by device type and also preview by language. So if I click Spanish now, my widget persists, right? And the images, that means the images that are in that directory have no multilingual version, but we could change them. Here I've got in Spanish, Guardianes de la Galaxia, and then I've got the submit button will say remitir. And that may be coming from our global language variables. Not sure. we have some system variables that automatically do auto-translate on some fields. And that one's soumettre. That one's coming from our system, auto-translated system variables. I think. If we go back to content, search, language variable. Although, I'll have to check. The default behavior should be, so this might be a bug, if I put in a language variable that has the same exact name as one that we already have in our global library, mine should override what's already preset and pre-translated in our system files. So that is, I think that's a bug, and I'm going to put it in there. Doesn't affect you guys. You're not doing multilingual, though. Okay. So that is how you would create terms, small little sentences of content, lines of content that you have, little messages here and there. If you're doing multilingual content, the content that you're placing on your pages, you just create a multilingual version for. But every once in a while, you need to, in a form, you need to call a button, you need to, do that. And, for my website, I did for my wife, that's extremely important. So home, properties, agents, about us, the little buyer rent and stuff like that. That's all controlled by those global language variable terms. The message that's here, that's global language variable. The new properties, features this month. So that whenever you do click on that, language ID equals 2, it just, changes all those values. I don't have to do anything to the content. That's the content contributors problem. They need to do that. And then there's only one other thing you would have to account for is if somebody clicks on a property in another language, is this actually matching the URL mapped version of the content, right? So the answer in this case is yes, but that does require a plugin. It's not default behavior that if you send out an email to someone and it happens to be the Spanish URL, it doesn't automatically, by default anyway, set the Spanish variable so that the whole site is shown in that language. I do have a plugin that does that on my site. So whenever I click on, that's supposed to do that. Maybe there's not a Spanish version. It's because I hadn't had set that, maybe. I'm hoping. Oh, nice. Nice. Let me see. If I clicked on, maybe, that's new content. So if I click on this one, I guess I need to update my plugin. Oh no. Okay, so I'll have to talk to my content contributors. They apparently, that is working. They apparently created a version of the content in only one language and didn't do it in the other because I'm clicking on this other property and it's working just fine. Content contributors, I tell you. You can't win. Yeah, so if I wanted to control that, though, and ensure that that could never happen for any new property, then I should have made a workflow so that it has to go from English and then Spanish, and they can't publish it until it's a workflow. But, just a little small home site, so I didn't devote a lot of time to it. But I may have to. I keep seeing stuff like that. So we've already seen how to set a language. I did that in the previous content architect training. We added French. That's why it's on the server, right? You just go to System, you go to Language or DevTools. Where is it? Types and tags, language, types and tags, languages. Then you add your new language, 2-letter country code, 2-letter language code, descriptive language, descriptive country. You add it, and then it adds the language flag. We added French. And then, if you wanted to do the multilingual URL mapping, and you wanted to be able to send a link in French to someone, and then whenever they hit it, it automatically sets the language ID. That's a little configuration, so you might want to, if you one day want to do multilingual, just contact support and they can help you and see, okay, do you want a separate domain for each one of these because the content's really not the same, or do you want the content to be one-to-one, that if it's in English, it should also be in French? There's a couple things to think about there, kind of like whenever you're setting up push publishing for the first time. If we wanted the images in our widget here to show up, all we would have to do is see, where is it calling from? So it's the photo gallery folder. So then we'd have to go here to the photo gallery folder. Where's it's under images, maybe. Where's the photo gallery folder? Oh, it's got to be under the Bear Mountain stuff, right? Yeah, there it is. So then all I'd have to do is I'd have to go to this content, lock for editing, Spanish, yes, French, yes, and then I go back to my page. I'll only see one image because I haven't done it with the other one, but here's my ski resort page, and here it's loading up in English, and if I select to Spanish, it'll only show me one. Okay, it should have shown me that one. Well, it might have some code in here in the VTL saying if it's less than a certain amount of images, don't show it or something. I'd have to mess around with his VTL. But the widget has to be smart enough to pull multilingual. So don't know what his is, but it's not worth it. We already see the content showing up here in Spanish. So if you do have the content in those languages and the widget is, smart, then it should show. He might also be pulling only English images in the widget. Not sure. Whatever Jason did there. But that's how it should work. There's also some default fall through settings that are in your configuration files. So if you want content to, if people create content in 3 different languages like we have in this, Spanish, French, and English. The default language is English. They've created a Spanish version of the content, but not a French version. So they hit the page in French. What happens? Is it just blank and there's no content in that area of the page? Or does it fall through and show you the English even though there is no French? Right? So you can configure those. There's some configuration properties, but I think we've already spent enough time here since we just know that there are configuration properties to define fall through for every object type, for pages, for widgets, for forms, for you can set it to, if you want it to fall through even if it's not existing in the current language, you can. I don't think that's generally a good decision anyway, though. But since you're not doing those, And and there's some Tucky rewrite rules so that if you actually wanted it to be a different domain, you could do a Tucky rewrite filter so that you could actually put a es at dotcms.com in Spanish or something like that whenever someone tries to reach your page in that language, and hit a different domain that corresponds to that language version.